menace of Maoism and ensuring a life of peace and progress for our people. This is what Prime Minister Modi has had to say. Remember, just a while ago, Home Minister Amit Shah had also congratulated the forces for the anti-naxal operation that have been taking place not just in Chhattisgarh but also Telangana. But remember, today is very critical when it comes to the gun battle that's taken place. Anshul joins me on the phone line. Anshul, take us through what the Prime Minister's greater message is, A, and B, how historic this operation will be and how it will go down in the annals of history as far as today's anti-Maoist operation is.
Definitely shows the importance of this entire operations that have been carried out by our security forces. And remember, this is not just a one-day operation. This is almost after a battle of 3 decades that for the first time, our security forces has been able to reach to the heads of these Naxals, the people who plan and plot these dastardly attacks on our security forces. And for the first time that we have been able to reach and get their heads back. So this is definitely a big success for our security forces, and that is what the Prime Minister and even the Home Minister wants to say, because the magnitude of this entire operation is something that is very notable. Talking about this specific operation that was carried out, in fact, the preparations for this operation was going on for more than 3 weeks. Specific intelligence inputs were collected that most senior leaders of the Maoist groups will be collecting over here in Narayanpur for a very important meeting. And it is at that point when all these leaders reached over there that our security forces brought in the element of surprise and carried out this entire encounter, in which 27 Naxalis have already been killed, including the top head of the Naxals, Baswaraja, who was a very dreaded Naxal operating out here in our country. The 70-year-old man was actually involved in the Kachorili blast that happened in 2019, and since then a massive manhunt was launched against him. In fact, the government had announced a prize money of rupees 1 crore on his head. A bounty of 1 crore was in fact announced on his head. So definitely this is a massive success, and a movement which is not only very historic but a movement which will make the entire security forces and citizens of the country very proud as well.
Absolutely, and Anshul, important to also highlight and share what the Union Home Minister has had to say. Amit Shah has gone on to talk about how after Operation Black Forest, over 80 have been in fact, over 80 have surrendered and 54 have been arrested as well. And this also is pertaining to states apart from Chhattisgarh. You're looking at Telangana, you're also looking at Maharashtra.
Well, definitely, this is very historic and a very big very big move, because if you see the manner in which this entire operation is being carried out, especially from the last 6 months, and the focus of the government has been very clear that India should be Naxal free by 31st March 2026, and that is the reason why such massive operations are being launched. Remember, a very important point to note over here as well, that even during Operation Sindoor, when the top bosses of all our security forces were actually involved in negating the threat that was incoming from Pakistan, the top officers of CRPF, the DG of CRPF, was still stationed in Chhattisgarh, making sure that the Naxal operations that are underway, that should not be hampered in any way or any manner. 57 Naxals have already surrendered in this operation itself. A few days ago, another massive operation was carried out, in which our forces stayed in the hills of Chhattisgarh for more than 21 days, and in that as well we were able to neutralize at least 32 Naxals. So the operations are in full point in time, and the threat is so much so for the Naxals that they are now pleading the government to come and have a dialogue with them. But the aim and the motive of the government is absolutely clear, that there will be no talks until and unless Naxalites are absolutely wiped out from the face of a country's map.
Anshul, to talk about today's operation particularly, how landmark is it, given that in 3 decades, the first time forces have in fact gunned down a General Secretary ranked Maoist leader?
Well, definitely, this is very historic. As you rightly mentioned, it has happened for the first time in 3 decades that the Indian armed forces and the Indian security forces have in fact been able to reach on the top bosses of Naxals. Because remember, these people, the top bosses of these Naxalite groups, actually stay hidden, actually stay absolutely underground. Their movements are absolutely protected by their forces as well. But the manner in which we have been able to gain that intelligence about their whereabouts at a time when such an important meeting was about to happen of top Naxal heads, this is first a victory of the intelligence bureau of India and the local intelligence that was collected from on ground sources by the CRPF and other agencies who are deployed on the ground, and then acting on that intelligence in such a manner that it became an absolute surprise for all these Naxalites who were meeting today again to actually plot some sort of action that they could take against the security forces of the country. Definitely, this is a very, very historic a feat that has been achieved, a feat that will be remembered by generations to come, because over the last 3 decades, there have been gun battles, there have been encounters that has happened, but this has generally happened with the people people who were at the lowest end of the spectrum, the on-ground forces.
Right.
These were the people who used to have this tussle with the security forces. But today, we have gone ahead and made sure that the top bosses of the Naxalites are destroyed, and then eventually the bottom half of the Naxal pyramid can actually be dealt with.
Stay with me, Anshul. Our next story will also require your inputs. With that, as we shift focus over to Pakistan's spy network in India, which has come under serious scrutiny after the exposure of an alleged espionage ring involving Jyoti Malhotra, a YouTuber. According to an interrogation report accessed by CNN News18, Jyoti Malhotra allegedly confessed to working on behalf of Pakistan's ISI. Odisha police are now questioning the YouTuber Priyanka Senapati, who reportedly met with Jyoti last year and even travelled with her to Pakistan. Authorities are examining Jyoti's bank accounts for suspicious foreign transactions and are analysing 6 seized electronic devices, including mobile phones and a laptop. Notably, chats with a suspected PIO-linked contact named Danish mysteriously stopped after the month of March, raising further suspicion. Top intelligence sources have also revealed that Pakistan's ISI is using the Kartarpur Sahib corridor as a covert channel to recruit spies. Jyoti Malhotra's case, and officials have warned, may be just one among many in a broader ISI operation. We bring you some reactions.
देखिए, इस संदर्भ में पूरी पुलिस तरफ से जांच की प्रक्रिया चल रही है और पूरे ही मामले को हम बहुत ही माइन्यूटली इन्वेस्टिगेट कर रहे हैं. हर छोटी चीज़, हर छोटी बारीकी का ध्यान रखा जा रहा है. उनका सोशल मीडिया हैंडल हो या फिर वो उनका टूर कहाँ कहाँ पे था, या फिर किसी भी प्रकार का फाइनेंशियल ट्रांजैक्शंस वगैरह भी अगर है तो उसकी भी छोटी से छोटी चीज़ का ध्यान रखते हुए उसको इन्वेस्टिगेट किया जा रहा है. जैसे मैंने आपको बोला कि मतलब उनके फाइनेंशियल ट्रांजैक्शंस को भी चेक किया जा रहा है कि उसमें कोई अगर एनोमली है या फिर कोई इस तरीके का हमें अगर कुछ सुराग मिलता है तो फिर हम उसके हिसाब से आगे कार्रवाई करेंगे. सोशल मीडिया हैंडल उनका पूरी तरीके से हमारे नज़र में है और डिफरेंट जो सोशल मीडिया हैंडल्स है उसमें उनका जो डिफरेंट कंटेंट है उसके ऊपर भी हमारी एग्जामिनेशन चल रही है.
Alright, so primarily under scrutiny has been Jyoti Malhotra's travel to Pakistan. Let's also take you through her travel diaries and why they have raised suspicion. Firstly, to begin with, Pahalgam was visited 2 months prior to the attack by Jyoti Malhotra. Secondly, Prayagraj was also attended, and in fact, as far as Mahakumbh in 2025 is concerned, remember there was also intel about how Mahakumbh was also being targeted. So Mahakumbh was also being, in fact, on the travel list of Jyoti Malhotra. At the same time, Barmer was visited. Border villages in 2024 were visited by Jyoti Malhotra. Munawar, the last railway station, which is on the Indian side, was also visited by Jyoti Malhotra. She also attended the Ram temple consecration in Ayodhya. Now remember, these are all very significant events, be it the Mahakumbh, be it the Ram temple consecration in Ayodhya. All of this was visited by Jyoti Malhotra, the YouTuber. She also visited Puri in September last year. We all know why Puri is equally significant, and she also in Kolkata met the YouTuber and visited other towns. She was part of a larger community of YouTubers. and was continuing to visit these other towns. Now, at the same time, we all know the charges are pretty serious as far as Jyoti Malhotra is concerned. There are charges of her spying on India's RAW and IB officials. On that note, let me quickly go back to Anshul, who continues to stay with us. Anshul, if one were to look at all of these events that were attended by Jyoti Malhotra, many would say that she was a travel blogger, she is a travel blogger, and that it's but obvious or very genuine of a travel blogger to attend these big significant events in India. What is the link between Pakistan and these events?
Well, yes, if you look, there is nothing suspicious in the manner in which her travels have happened. But yes, there are a few small elements in her travel that has raised suspicion. For example, her visit to the last railway station out here in India. Not many people are allowed to visit over there. Not many people have gotten access to visit over there because it is an international border which is right next to Pakistan. She went there. She made videos in which she was asking people what they think about Pakistan and how there should be more communication with Pakistan. The trains, the Thar Express train, which has been cancelled, that train should also yet again run between India and Pakistan. So somewhere or the other, the motive of Jyoti is something that is under suspicion at this point in time. Apart from that, another travel that is under suspicion is her travel to Kerala. Generally, what travel bloggers do or tourists do, they actually try to land somewhere in the center of Kerala, either in Kochi or in Thiruvananthapuram, because these are the main tourist spots. But Jyoti, in her travels, started her travel from north of Kerala near Palakkad, and then took a ride through the interior roads of Kerala, and then went to the next town known as Alapad, which is just 17 kilometers away from a naval training academy. Not only this, but also the itinerary that she had shared on her social media pages was not actually matching her travel records. So this has yet again raised a lot of suspicion that why did Jyoti share a false travel itinerary and not the itinerary that she was following there. So definitely there are several loopholes that have been figured out by the agencies at this point in time. They are still interrogating Jyoti regarding all these loopholes that they have been able to find in her travels. Yet there is no clear answer that has come in from Jyoti at this point in time. It remains to be seen what more can the Hisar police and security agencies actually get from Jyoti about her travels and about her visits to Pakistan.
Many thanks to you, Anshul. We'll have to leave it at that since we are running short of time. But at the same time, let's also highlight what has in fact drawn suspicion as far as this YouTuber Jyoti Malhotra is concerned. There have been a host of her connections with various Pakistani officials that are now coming under scrutiny. One of them being her relationship with the Pakistan High Commission's official named Danish. That has primarily stirred the hornet's nest. At the same time, there are deleted chat logs with Danish which have also surfaced. Remember, these are chats that go all the way back to March. There is no explanation in terms of why these chats were deleted by Jyoti. At the same time, chats with another Pak intelligence officer named Ali have also come under scanner. If she was or is a travel blogger, what was the need for her to be in touch with this intel officer named Ali from Pakistan? That is in fact beating anybody right now. As far as a handwritten note is concerned, that's also come under the scanner. This was a handwritten note to Jyoti's family, which is currently being scrutinized. A host of medications have also been named in this note, and currently the agencies are studying this particular note as well. Remember, the father of Jyoti Malhotra said that he had no clue about Jyoti Malhotra embarking that trip to Pakistan. Links with a Puri YouTuber named Priyanka Senapati have also come under the scanner. Who was Priyanka Senapati? She is also currently being interrogated, and this is part of a larger nexus that is now being probed as far as the Pak spy nexus is concerned. Remember, a host of arrests have also been made. On that note, let's also play out some more political reactions that have come in.
जितने भी लोगों ने जिसने भी देशद्रोही लोगों के साथ किसी भी प्रकार की साजिश रचने का काम किया है, चाहे वो किसी भी धर्म से है, किसी भी जाति से, उन सब के खिलाफ कानून अपनी सख्ती के साथ काम करेगा।
देखिए, बहुत गंभीर मामला है ये। इसकी गहराई से जांच करनी चाहिए। जो दोषी है उसको कड़ी सजा मिलना चाहिए, निर्दोष को नहीं फंसाना चाहिए।
Right, getting in breaking inputs. This is with regards to the Ministry of External Affairs, which has refuted charges coming from Pakistan of an alleged Indian involvement in the Khusdar terror attack in Pakistan, where reports suggest that 6 died in a suicide bombing. The MEA has rejected these baseless allegations, saying while India condoles the loss of life, it is second nature for Pakistan to blame India to divert attention from the focus on the terror nexus inside the country. Bringing us those breaking inputs is Siddhant Mishra, who is joining me live on the broadcast. Siddhant, at a time when there's much chatter about the Baloch insurgency perhaps being responsible, is this even responsible of Pakistan to blame India without any concrete evidence?
Well, that's right, Akanksha. In fact, Pakistan immediately blamed India for a suspected suicide attack on a school bus in its southwestern province of Balochistan on Wednesday morning that killed 4 children. And in fact, now we're getting a statement from Ministry of External Affairs, and statement says that India rejects the baseless allegations made by Pakistan regarding Indian involvement with the incident in Khusdar earlier today. India condoles the loss of lives in such incidents. However, in order to divert attention from its reputation as the global epicenter of terrorism and to hide its own gross failings, it has become second nature for Pakistan to blame India for its internal issues. Perhaps a very strong statement coming from Ministry of External Affairs. Also, Akanksha, the question you asked, yes, indeed, because Pakistan is aware about the fact that how India is sending 7 groups of multi-party parliamentary delegation to various world capitals, perhaps to build case against Pakistan, that how Pakistan has been involved in cross-border terrorism from last 30 years. India is backed by dossier against Pakistan, that how Pakistan is providing base to Jaish-e-Mohammed, Lashkar-e-Taiba, and ISI is hand in gloves with these terror groups. And Pakistan is nervous because of the outreach which India has been doing and perhaps will be doing in next 2 weeks. And this is perhaps the reason that now Pakistan DGISPR particularly immediately jumped to a conclusion and blamed India for attack on a school bus this morning.
And these kind of suspected suicide attacks have been time and again taking place in Balochistan. Can Pakistan even afford to blame India for it? Is this not evidence enough that Pakistan has much to address within their own domestic shores and is using India to divert attention from their own internal troubles?
That's right, Akanksha. The morale of rebel forces in Balochistan area province is all-time high. There is no doubt about it, because there are 2 reasons to it. One, because they know the way Indian forces defeated the Pakistani forces in Operation Sindoor. And the second reason is that Pakistani forces are on the back foot in the Baloch region. In fact, most of the posts, the army posts, have been taken over by Baloch rebels. In fact, at many places in the Baloch region, Pakistani army doesn't have funds to maintain their units. And now what Asim Munir is doing, that he has given contract to local militia in Baloch province to take on Baloch rebels. So Baloch rebels have understood it very well, that Pakistani army will not be going for a conventional war with Baloch rebels, and this is the reason that they have given contract to suicide squads and militias. And perhaps this is an internal issue of Pakistan, Akanksha. This perhaps reflects upon the how failed state Pakistan is. And now what they are doing is that immediately DGISPR is blaming India for this attack.
Absolutely, you're right that the timing of this blame is very critical. Many thanks to you, Siddhant, for putting that into perspective for us. With that, let's now shift focus over to another blame game that's currently playing out within India. The Congress Party's earlier restraint on Operation Sindoor has now come to an abrupt end, unleashing a series of controversial remarks on Operation Sindoor and India's precise strikes. First, Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge stoked a row after saying that Operation Sindoor was a chutput war. Now, after Kharge, another Congress leader, Ghulam Ahmad Mir, has questioned the operation and said that it is a minor activity. Now, Congress leader Vijay Wadetiwar also joined in the chorus, saying that 3 to 4 Rafale jets were shot down during the cross-border conflict, a claim that has been consistently denied by the government. In a surprising turn, veteran Congress leader P. Chidambaram has distanced himself from politics over Operation Sindoor, saying that he does not want it to be politicized. The Bharatiya Janata Party has reacted sharply and has slammed the Congress party. BJP has alleged that Congress is parroting Pakistan's narrative. The BJP on the other side has said that Congress is continuously insulting India's armed forces. Listen in to Vijay Vadetiwar's reaction.
अभी तो चाइना मेड 5000 ड्रोन उन्होंने भेजा, वो चाइना के थे। उस ड्रोन की कीमत 15,000 है, उसमें कुछ नहीं होता है। उसके लिए हमने 15 लाख का ये दागा गया, वो क्या बोलते उसको, नहीं 15, हमारी मिसाइल की कीमत 15 लाख थी एक ड्रोन गिराने के लिए, वो 15,000 का ड्रोन, वो चाइना की उसके पीछे पॉलिसी थी। ये भी कहा जाता है, ऐसी भी चर्चा ये बहुत जोर से है। सच्चाई क्या है, सच्चाई क्या है, ये मुझे नहीं पता, पर ये चाइना के 5-6 हजार ड्रोन हिंदुस्तान में भेजे गए। उसको गिराने के लिए हमने 15-15 लाख का मिसाइल उसके ऊपर छोड़ा, उसको ध्वस्त करने के लिए डाला गया। ऐसी बहुत सारी चर्चा है। हमारे राफेल 4 राफेल या 3 राफेल गिराए गए, ऐसी चर्चा है। तो सरकार ने स्पष्टीकरण देना चाहिए।
Right. Reactions continue to come in from both ends of the political spectrum. In fact, the latest to react is Maharashtra's Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis, who's in fact gone on to respond to the attacks coming in from the Congress party, saying that some don't know the value of our soldiers who lose their life for the country. They don't know the difference between a normal drone and a fighter. Remember, this is a direct reference to what Vijay Vadetiwar had to say. Let me quickly bring in Yesha Kotak, who's joining me on the phone line. Yesha, shed more light on the context to which the reaction coming in from Devendra Fadnavis is.
Absolutely. In fact, we've seen that over the last couple of days, there have been series of reactions that have come in from several Congress leaders, including Mallikarjun Kharge as well, who called the entire Operation Sindoor insignificant. Now, however, here we see Vijay Vadetiwar, who's known to make controversial political remarks, has also jumped onto the bandwagon. He has, in fact, questioned the government, saying that the government should be answerable for the amount that was spent on the entire operation, saying that there were drones worth 15,000 that were sent to India. In return, we reacted, or we attacked them with missiles worth lakhs of rupees. However, to react to this very statement that comes in from Vijay Vadetiwar, the Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis has himself said that there are some people who can be absolute fools about to make such comments, and which he in fact mentioned that he would not really want to comment on this because he believes that there are several people who are making such comments would not understand the significance of the lives of soldiers and the kind of efforts that have gone into keep the country safe.
Absolutely. There is the effort of the armed forces, and on the other hand, you have the diplomatic effort also being undertaken by India. Many thanks to you, Yesha, for bringing us those inputs and to, in fact, shed more light on India's diplomatic outreach being undertaken from today. Remember, Kanimoi Karunanidhi is one of them to be heading a delegation to Russia. CNN News 18's Payal Mehta has a conversation with Kanimoi. Listen.
Ma'am, you're going on a very, very important delegation that goes to multiple countries. You were briefed by the MEA. What are you expected to bring forth before the countries that you're visiting?
Just the truth and nothing else but the truth. We've suffered because of terrorism, and it's not the first time. And recently in Pahalgam, we've lost 26 lives of civilians. So we need to explain our stand, and we need to explain what is happening in this country.
One of the most important countries that you're visiting has been the all-weather friend of India all along, Russia. But they didn't come out so openly in our support. Is that something which is going to be playing on your mind because you'll be interacting with various delegations, not just the government, over there?
Definitely. We are going to these countries to meet people in these countries, to meet opinion makers and decision makers and explain what has really happened, representing the country. So, we will be explaining what happened.
Ma'am, how does it feel, how does it feel for you personally, to be part of this big, brand India movement that you're really going for? I'm sure you've gone on multiple delegations, but this must feel entirely different.
No, definitely. I mean, this is a very important responsibility which has been given to us, and it's a very important thing also, especially after what has happened and actually what is happening today, because the narrative Pakistan is trying to set. So in this context, I think these delegations which are being sent out are all the more important today, and I totally am humbled by this opportunity, and I also understand the responsibility. Yes, we will do our best, and we stand by our country.
Yes. My final question to you, there are of course a lot of murmurs that are happening within the opposition circles, but DMK has stood solid behind it. They have not said anything. Any advice that you would like to give your opposition friends, saying that let's keep politics aside, let's focus on brand India?
No, I don't have any advice for anybody, but we can see that every party is sending representatives, every party is sending MPs. Whatever differences are very superficial and minor. When it comes to the country, we stand as one and we talk as one against terrorism. That is the most important takeaway from what we've seen.
Thank you so much for talking to us. With original Sumesh Sharma, Payal Mehta in Delhi for CNN News 18.
Alright, so as Kadimoi Karunanidhi was sharing in that conversation with Payal Mehta of CNN News 18, that once they are out of the country, there will be a unified stance maintained by all these leaders, whether from BJP or the opposition parties. Kadimoi, of course, heading the 6th delegation over there, and she will be visiting countries including Russia, Spain, Greece, Slovenia, Latvia, and these are all members of the 6th all-party delegation that includes Samajwadi Party MP Rajiv Rai, NC MP Mia Altaf Ahmed, BJP MP Brijesh Chauta, RJD MP Shri Premchand Gupta, AAP MP Ashok Kumar Mittal, and Ambassador Manjeev S. Puri along with Ambassador Javed Ashraf all will be making, in fact, are comprising the 6th delegation. Pal joining me live on the broadcast with more inputs. Indeed, heartwarming to hear that Kadimoi is saying that there has to be a unified stance when it comes to national security. Is this not a sharp contrast to voices that are now coming out, particularly from the Congress party, Payal?
Yes, Kadimoi was earlier asked this question during the press conference in which she said she's not the spokesperson for the Congress party to really be able to see what the Congress party is saying. Having said that, there's been not a single controversy that the DMK has really created, given the fact that DMK is also completely, opposite in terms of ideology when it comes to the BJP-led central government. But there are certain issues that can be debated and discussed later. So while I asked her that question that, would you want to advise your friends in the opposition something? She said, I'm nobody to advise anybody anything, but the fact of the matter is that we all have to come together. Similar has been the sentiment that has been echoed by another opposition party. Rajiv Rai from the Samaj Party has also been saying the same thing as well. So barring a couple of parties, it's been most of the parties have come along the same way, essentially saying that this is brand India, this is about the respect of India, and this is about the martyrdom of the soldiers who laid down their lives to protect this great motherland, and we have to stand up for them as well. So that's the reason they're going to be going to this multi-party delegation. Kani, Akanksha goes to a very, very important set of countries, probably one of the most beautiful parts of the world that she's really going to when it comes to places like Greece and Spain amongst the others. But Russia is the all-weather friend for India and across the decades. Russia is where, even Indian food, Indian film stars are extremely popular, and Russia has also been a big defense partner for us. But Russia also did not come out in as many words in support India.
Right.
So what is the further step that can be taken? That also remains to be seen when the delegation hits there.
And interestingly, she's also visiting Greece, which is also being pitched as an alternate travel destination for Indians, as an alternate to Turkey as well. Many thanks to you, Payal, for bringing us those extensive inputs. With that, let's now bring you some more information post Operation Sindoor, which we will be sharing with you, but in a quick break from now.
This is the track. This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Minister Amit Shah had also congratulated the forces for the anti-naxal operation that have been taking place not just in Chhattisgarh but also Telangana. But remember, today is very critical when it comes to the gun battle that's taken place. Anshul joins me on the phone line. Anshul, take us through what the Prime Minister's greater message is, A, and B, how historic this operation will be and how it will go down in the annals of history as far as today's anti-Maoist operation is.
Definitely shows the importance of this entire operations that have been carried out by our security forces. And remember, this is not just a one-day operation. This is almost after a battle of 3 decades that for the first time, our security forces has been able to reach out to the heads of these Naxals, the people who plan and plot these dastardly attacks on our security forces. And for the first time that we have been able to reach and get their heads back. So this is definitely a big success for our security forces, and that is what the Prime Minister and even the Home Minister wants to say, because the magnitude of this entire operation is something that is very notable. Talking about this specific operation that was carried out, in fact, the preparations for this operation was going on for more than 3 weeks. Specific intelligence inputs were collected that most senior leaders of the Maoist groups will be collecting over here in Narayanpur for a very important meeting. And it is at that point when all these leaders reached over there that our security forces brought in the element of surprise and carried out this entire encounter, in which 27 Naxalis have already been killed, including the top head of the Naxals, Baswaraja, who was a very dreaded Naxal operating out here in our country. The 70-year-old man was actually involved in the Kachorili blast that happened in 2019, and since then a massive manhunt was launched against him. In fact, the government had announced a prize money of rupees 1 crore on his head. A bounty of 1 crore was in fact announced on his head. So definitely this is a massive success, and very a movement which is not only very historic, but a movement which will make the entire security forces and citizens of the country very proud as well.
Absolutely, and Anshul, important to also highlight and share what the Union Home Minister has had to say. Amit Shah has gone on to talk about how after Operation Black Forest, over 80 have been, in fact, over 80 have surrendered and 54 have been arrested as well. And this also is pertaining to states apart from Chhattisgarh. You're looking at Telangana, you're also looking at Maharashtra.
Well, definitely, this is very historic and a very big very big move, because if you see the manner in which this entire operation is being carried out, especially from the last 6 months, and the focus of the government has been very clear that India should be Naxal free by 31st March 2026, and that is the reason why such massive operations are being launched. Remember, a very important point to note over here as well, that even during Operation Sindoor, when the top bosses of all our security forces were actually involved in negating the threat that was incoming from Pakistan, the top officers of CRPF, the DG of CRPF, was still stationed in Chhattisgarh, making sure that the Naxal operations that are underway, that should not be hampered in any way or any manner. 57 Naxals have already surrendered in this operation itself. A few days ago, another massive operation was carried out, in which our forces stayed in the hills of Chhattisgarh for more than 21 days, and in that as well we were able to neutralize at least 32 Naxals. So the operations are in full point in time, and the threat is so much so for the Naxals that they are now pleading the government to come and have a dialogue with them. But the aim and the motive of the government is absolutely clear, that there will be no talks until and unless Naxalites are absolutely wiped out from the face of a country's map.
Anshul, to talk about today's operation particularly, how landmark is it, given that in 3 decades, the first time forces have in fact gunned down a General Secretary ranked Maoist leader?
Well, definitely, this is very historic, as you rightly mentioned. It has happened for the first time in 3 decades that the Indian armed forces and the Indian security forces have in fact been able to reach on the top bosses of Naxals. Because remember, these people, the top bosses of these Naxalite groups, actually stay hidden, actually stay absolutely underground. Their movements are absolutely protected by their forces.
Welcome back. You're watching Nation at 5. I'm Akanksha Swaroop and we are getting in some breaking inputs. This is with regards to the India-US trade deal regarding the tariffs which kicked into action, remember, on 2nd of April this year. And what we are learning is that the details of the progress of the US-India trade deal have been shared, as India is now aiming for full exemption from 26% additional tariffs in the interim trade deal. Both sides are now aiming to complete the interim deal before 9th of July, before reciprocal tariffs kick in by October this year. And goods and digital services likely to be part of this interim deal is what we are learning. And a round of talk between Piyush Goyal and the US trade representatives is to continue. Remember, he has been in touch with the US counterparts ever since these reciprocal tariffs kicked in. Abhimanyu from CNBC is joining me with more inputs. Abhimanyu, what will the interim deal bring to the table for Indian exporters?
Well, there are several asks from the American as well as the Indian side, while the US is seeking several exemptions with respect to market access, increased market access rather, in dairy and agriculture sector. These are sensitive sectors for India, so India is aiming for a minimum import price or import quotas in these sensitive sectors as part of the deal. On the other hand, speaking of labor-intensive sectors like textiles and leather goods, India is seeking that the 5 to 7% basic customs duty, which is currently imposed on Indian exports in the United States, that should be cut. Apart from that, US currently does not have the power to bring tariffs lower than the MFN or the most favored nation category rate, which will require the approval from the US Congress. That is the word coming in from some government officials in the Indian government. They also indicated that Indian products do not face the kind of non-tariff barriers in the United States like they face in the European Union. However, the import of genetically modified crops from the United States is going to be an issue because such crops are not allowed in India. However, India is open to import non-genetically modified alpha hay, which is an agricultural produce. However, the problem out there is that the US is unable to certify non-genetically modified or non-GM products since such products are grown side by side, they are cultivated side by side in the United States. So clearly, issues like these would figure as part of the talks which are taking place, as both the sides are looking to seal an interim deal before the 9th of July and the first tranche of the deal by October 2025. Also, more importantly, goods and digital services are likely to be a part of an interim deal, which is likely to kick in from the 9th of July itself. So goods and digital services are likely to feature in the interim deal, and the first tranche, which is likely to be inked in around October this year, is likely to feature several other issues like IPR, that is intellectual property rights, even other services, as well as government procurement, and several other issues which are not going to be a part of the earlier deal, the earlier interim deal, which is being discussed by both the sides. Also, officials had pointed out that there are benefits which have already started emanating from differential tariffs for Indian exports that are already reflected in the monthly trade data. So there is a monthly trade data released by the Indian government in which Indian exports have increased to the United States, courtesy the fact that India is facing lesser tariffs compared to several other countries which are facing higher tariffs compared to India for sale of their goods within the United States, which is making Indian goods more competitive. So India remains optimistic about sealing an early interim trade deal with the United States.
Many are also shelving hopes for those products which comprise the exclusion list, because they're saying that close to 29% of our trade is also to do with products that are on the exclusion list. What are those products that we are talking about when you talk about the exclusion list which has been given relief from these tariffs?
Well, speaking about the exclusive list, that is going to be a part of the elaborate talks which are going to happen later. And also, speaking of many of these products, they may require further approvals from the relevant parliament or from the relevant cabinet in a specific country. So not just India, not just the US, both the countries are currently locked in negotiations with several other geographies, several other countries. So speaking of those 29 products, that's a larger cohort that is going to be possibly discussed at a later date.
Okay.
So for now, the interim deal is going to feature several small issues, and the prime objective would be to avert the applicability of reciprocal tariffs on which there is already a pause till the 8th of July. So for now, it's something which is being looked at from a point of view of the 9th of July to avert the applicability of interim or the applicability of reciprocal tariffs, and to be able to seal an interim deal for goods and digital services.
Yes, hoping India and the US are able to iron out those differences till July of first week. Many thanks to you, Abhimanyu, for bringing us those latest inputs. With that, let's now shift focus back to Operation Sindoor. CNN News 18's Akash Sharma takes us to the heart of India's frontline defences along the international border, locations that bore the brunt of intense cross-border strikes from Pakistan. And in a first-of-its-kind exclusive, this is the first ground report from military posts since Operation Sindoor began. This ground report offers an in-depth look at India's formidable defence infrastructure, highlighting the strategic deployment of battle tanks, mechanized infantry units and advanced missile and artillery systems that are key components of the nation's military strength, a rare glimpse into the resilience and preparedness of India's armed forces. Have a look at this CNN News 18 exclusive.
I'm standing in one forward post here in Poonch sector, and this is one post that was targeted by Pakistani army again and again. In fact, during Operation Sindoor, when we had these ceasefire violations, then in fact these weapons, you can see this 120 mm RT, the 82 mortar in fact, and the 62 mm mortar as well. The variety of weapons were fired towards this particular post. However, these were in fact, even when they targeted the post, nothing sort of damage happened at that on this particular post in fact, and I'll try to talk to the officer as well as to what was the scenario, what was the condition, and as far as these weapons are concerned, these mortars and RT shells are concerned, so what were the variety of weapons that they received. Sir, welcome to CNN News 18. Want to ask you, of course we have seen that post is intact, but as far as these violations were concerned, if you can talk to us about those scenarios, those conditions, what did you notice at that time, sir?
On the night of 7th, when the CFV, when he violated the CFV, there was a heavy barrage of all kind of caliber that was there. So we have got 120 mm mortar rounds that are there, we have got 82 mm, we have got artillery shells that have landed, and all landed here. All landed here into the thick of things. But see, it is for you to see for yourself. That is why we are here today. You can see it for yourself. There is absolutely no damage. What does this speak of? This speaks of the very low professionalism that is there across with the army. These are all the shells that have landed in this civil area. So there's something that the army does, now all these shells that have landed have not exploded. So army goes to the civil areas and carries out demolition. But the larger point that I want to bring out here is you look at the thing, artillery shells landing here, shells without fuse. This also speaks of the kind of unprofessionalism that is there in the Pakistan army. What kind of soldier would fire a shell without any fuse that is there? So we have already heard a lot about its RT not being in good shape. And now we have been, at least from the army, we have been first-hand witness to the kind of thing that is done. And second, of course, the rounds landing up in the civil areas, what was the need to target civilians? If it's a fight, it has to be a clean fight between the two armies. Right. But this is the kind of ethos that is the Pakistan army has been built upon.
While artillery is the backbone of conventional warfare, this command post is the backbone to the artillery, and I'll try to show you the visuals of a command post where we have 105 light field gun machine deployed, and this command post is basically helping the officers on the gun to decide as to in which direction and in which intensity they have to open fire. There you have visuals where they are working on several sort of systems. There is a lot of mathematics that is involved in an artillery fire. Earlier we used to have these manual systems. In fact, today we have this manual system where you can see the officer working with the compass in the map, but today we have got automated systems as well. Artillery की जो command post है उसका क्या काम है, ये कैसे मदद करती है artillery fire में?
कमांड पोस्ट जैसा कि हम नाम से लग रहा है कि कमांड पोस्ट, जो भी हमारा जो डाटा होता है, टारगेट डाटा वो यहाँ से वर्कआउट किया जाता है, उसको प्रोसेस करने के बाद में हम एक टारगेट की एक निश्चित लाइन, उनकी बेयरिंग और उसके लिए कितना एलिवेशन हमें रेंज की जरूरत पड़ेगी, कितने चार्ज की हमें जरूरत पड़ेगी, उसको वर्कआउट करते हैं और यहाँ से गनों का ऑर्डर पास किया जाता है, उसी हिसाब से गन एक्शन करती हैं.
अभी तो हम देख रहे हैं कि आपके पास मैनुअल सिस्टम भी है, लेकिन बीते सालों में ऑटोमेटिक हो गया है सिस्टम, आजकल कंप्यूटर्स पे काम होता है। कौन सा कहें कि ज़्यादा बेहतर है, या किसका ज़्यादा इस्तेमाल आजकल आप करते हैं, या कहें कि दोनों सिस्टम्स का इस्तेमाल करते हैं?
अभी तो हम ज़्यादातर जो ऑटोमेटिक सिस्टम है उनका इस्तेमाल करते हैं, लेकिन मैनुअल सिस्टम को हम नहीं भूल सकते, क्योंकि कहीं लाइट का बंदोबस्त होगा नहीं होगा, एकदम से जाके फायर करना पड़ेगा, तो हमें मैनुअल सिस्टम का सहारा लेना पड़ेगा।
हमें बताया गया कि लाइट फील्ड गन ने अब की बार बहुत कहर बरपाया दुश्मन पर। वायलेशंस जब हम बात करते हैं तो पुंछ में बहुत वायलेशंस हुई, सिविलियन पॉपुलेशन को भी टारगेट किया गया। लाइट फील्ड गन कितना इफेक्टिव निकली, आप अपने समझ से क्या कुछ बता सकते हैं कि किस तरह से आपने जो डिस्ट्रक्शन है वो किया दूसरी साइड?
हाँ जी, जो भी टारगेट्स हमने दिए, जो भी टारगेट्स हमने आइडेंटिफाई किए थे, उन टारगेट्स डाटा मिलने के बाद हमने लगातार 4-4 राउंड गन फायर या उससे ज़्यादा भी जब जरूरत पड़ी तो हमने उनको फायर किया। और जो टारगेट का असेसमेंट डाटा बाद में मिला कि उनका बहुत भारी मात्रा में नुकसान हुआ, कि काफ़ी मात्रा में उनके मतलब जान और माल का नुकसान हुआ।
All right, we're slipping into a quick break. Stay tuned to Nation at 5 as we return with the latest news and updates.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Minister Amit Shah had also congratulated the forces for the anti-naxal operation that have been taking place not just in Chhattisgarh but also Telangana. But remember, today is very critical when it comes to the gun battle that's taken place. Anshul joins me on the phone line. Anshul, take us through what the Prime Minister's greater message is, A, and B, how historic this operation will be and how it will go down in the annals of history as far as today's anti-Maoist operation is.
Definitely shows the importance of this entire operations that have been carried out by our security forces. And remember, this is not just a one-day operation. This is almost after a battle of 3 decades that for the first time, our security forces has been able to reach to the heads of these Naxals, the people who plan and plot these dastardly attacks on our security forces. And for the first time that we have been able to reach and get their heads back. So this is definitely a big success for our security forces, and that is what the Prime Minister and even the Home Minister wants to say, because the magnitude of this entire operation is something that is very notable. Talking about this specific operation that was carried out, in fact, the preparations for this operation was going on for more than 3 weeks. Specific intelligence inputs were collected that most senior leaders of the Maoist groups will be collecting over here in Narayanpur for a very important meeting, and it is at that point when all these leaders reached over there that our security forces brought in the element of surprise and carried out this entire encounter, in which 27 Naxalis have already been killed, including the top head of the Naxals, Baswaraja, who was a very dreaded Naxal operating out here in our country. The 70-year-old man was actually involved in the Kachorili blast that happened in 2019, and since then a massive manhunt was launched against him. In fact, the government had announced a prize money of ₹1 crore on his head. A bounty of 1 crore was in fact announced on his head. So definitely this is a massive success, and very a movement which is not only very historic but a movement which will make the entire security forces and citizens of the country very proud as well.
Absolutely, and Anshul, important to also highlight and share what the Union Home Minister has had to say. Amit Shah has gone on to talk about how after Operation Black Forest, over 80 have been in fact, over 80 have surrendered and 54 have been arrested as well. And this also is pertaining to states apart from Chhattisgarh. You're looking at Telangana, you're also looking at Maharashtra.
Well, definitely, this is very historic and a very big very big move, because if you see the manner in which this entire operation is being carried out, especially from the last 6 months, and the focus of the government has been very clear that India should be Naxal free by 31st March 2026, and that is the reason why such massive operations are being launched. Remember, a very important point to note over here as well, that even during Operation Sindoor, when the top bosses of all our security forces were actually involved in negating the threat that was incoming from Pakistan, the top officers of CRPF, the DG of CRPF was still stationed in Chhattisgarh, making sure that the Naxal operations that are underway, that should not be hampered in any way or any manner. 57 Naxals have already surrendered in this operation itself. A few days ago, another massive operation was carried out in which our forces stayed in the hills of Chhattisgarh for more than 21 days, and in that as well we were able to neutralize at least 32 Naxals. So the operations are in full point in time, and the threat is so much so for the Naxals that they are now pleading the government to come and have a dialogue with them. But the aim and the motive of the government is absolutely clear, that there will be no talks until and unless Naxalites are absolutely wiped out from the face of a country's map.
Anshu, to talk about today's operation, particularly how landmark is it, given that in 3 decades, the first time forces have in fact gunned down a general secretary ranked Maoist leader?
Well, definitely. This is very historic. As you rightly mentioned, it has happened for the first time in 3 decades that the Indian armed forces and the Indian security forces have in fact been able to reach on the top bosses of Naxals. Because
Welcome back. Now, the gold smuggling case with regards to Rania Rao, the actor, is blowing up against Karnataka Congress as the Enforcement Directorate is carrying out raids at colleges run by Karnataka's Home Minister G. Parmeshwara's family. Raids were underway at Sri Siddhartha Institute of Technology and the Sri Siddhartha Medical College as well. Both colleges are run by a trust that is owned by Home Minister G. Parmeshwara and his family. Raids are in connection with a money laundering probe linked to actor Rania Rao's gold smuggling case. The agency has allegedly found a money trail between Rao and the medical college linked to Parmeshwara. Congress calls these raids of Home Minister's colleges as politically motivated. Parmeshwara being raided because he is a Dalit leader is what the Congress is now saying. D.K. Shivkumar, the Deputy CM, is claiming that he was sure that in no way Home Minister was involved and called him a decent and simple fellow. Listen in to what D.K. Shivkumar has to say.
No, I don't know. I think I'm sure that in no way my Home Minister is involved with any of such case. He's a very decent, simple man. I think he might have some of them come and meet, common man come and meet and go. I think no way Parmeshwar is involved in such type of case.
ನೋಡ್ರಿ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಅವರು ಈ ದೇಶವನ್ನ ರಾಜ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ 60 ವರ್ಷ ಲೂಟಿ ಹೊಡೆದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಮುಜುಗರದ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಯನ್ನ ಕೋಲ್ ಬಂದಾಗೆ ಅವ್ರೇನು ಭಯ ಬೀಳಿಲ್ಲ, ಮೂಢ ಹಗರಣಕ್ಕೆ ಏನು ಅವ್ರು ಭಯ ಬೀಳಿಲ್ಲ, ವಾಲ್ಮೀಕಿಗೆ ಭಯ ಬಿದ್ದಿಲ್ಲ. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾಕೆ ಭಯ ಬೀಳ್ತಾರ್ರಿ? ಅವ್ರು ಇನ್ನ 10 ಅವ್ರ ಲೂಟಿಗೆ ರೆಡಿ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದರಿಂದ ಅವ್ರೇನು ನನಗನ್ಸ್ತದೆ ಭಯ ಬೀಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ನನಗೇನು ಅನ್ಸಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗಳು ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಭಯ ಬೀಳೋ ರೀತಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಅವರ ಶಕ್ತಿಯನ್ನ ತೋರಿಸಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ನಾನು ಆಗ್ರಹ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ.
All right, Harish is joining me on the phone line with more details. Harish, take us through all those aspects that are now establishing a clear-cut link between Rania Rao and G. Parmeshwara and the money trail that has been so far tracked by the Enforcement Directorate.
Well, the Enforcement Directorate now claiming that there is a money trail that they are after, and perhaps this search operation is to find concrete evidence which will help them establish this money trail and also put it in front of the court. But more importantly, this is significant because the DRI so far in all its submission to the court and even the documents that we've also scrutinized indicated that this was a larger international gold smuggling syndicate which Rania Rao was part of. They had spoken about how Rania Rao would get a part of the proceeds of that crime and others who've been arrested so far. This is the first time an agency, the Enforcement Directorate, which was probing this case parallelly, is now talking about a possible link or a money trail leading to an institution. Remember, if this stops at the Siddhartha Education Trust, then the ED will probe it further and then it will reach a logical conclusion. But if it indeed lands up at the doorsteps of G. Parmeshwara, then that could be a lot more trouble for G. Parmeshwara politically as well. Something that is going to blow up and make it difficult for the Congress party politically as well.
Absolutely. Given that there's plenty of corruption charges against many other leaders from the Congress party, that includes the CM himself. Many thanks to you, Harish, for bringing us all those inputs. And with that, let's also play out another political reaction that's come in on this news story.
Sir, this ED raid on Mr. G. Parmeshwara's family-owned trust educational institutions, how do you see it, sir?
It's totally politically motivated, because he is a very important leader of the state, and he was a party president. He's been the good image, and this BJP, they don't have any other work, just to targeting the Congress leaders. They've been targeting all our leaders or ministers wantingly, because in Karnataka we have Congress government. So this, I can say that this is only political victimization, and also to create a kind of a situation in the state, because we are ruling party is Congress party, and these tactics, arm twisting tactics, this kind of things the government is doing. They have made this CBI, ED, IT as the funded organizations. We totally condemn this one, because wantingly they have never gone to any BJP leader who are there in the opposition against BJP. They are just targeting them to create a fear psychosis, and we are not going to cow down by all these raids, because we know this is nothing but politically motivated. Dr. Parmeshwar is has got a very good background, very clean background. Even as a minister, he was earlier also a minister. There's been a good leader in the state, and he also knows the rules and regulations, what has to be done. But nothing. His college has been running from last 20, 30, 40 years, and now suddenly they want to have a raid there. There's nothing. Why they don't go to any BJP leaders' colleges or their residence? They're totally victimizing the Congress leaders, because Parmeshwar is a very important leader in Karnataka and also a leader of Dalit community. They're targeting the Dalit community leaders.
All right, getting in breaking inputs. This is with regards to the suspension of Celebi's security clearance. The Turkish aviation firm, which has countered the action, calling it illegal, and senior advocate Mukul Rohatgi, who's been appearing for Celebi, has said that an opportunity for hearing should have been given to the firm, where reasons for revocation of clearance should have been provided as well. Rohatgi has also said that a notice before the dismissal of services is mandatory, but that was not provided to Celebi. Let's quickly bring in Ananya Bhatnagar, who shares more inputs on that news story. Ananya, what is the case being presented by Mukul Rohatgi on behalf of Celebi right now?
Well, definitely, Celebi has constantly argued that, had a hearing been given to Celebi Aviation before, in fact, suspending their services as far as, the airports are concerned, it could have, explored some kind of an option in order to beat that public perception that they are Turkish. They could have, dumped their Turkish, shareholders, or there could have been other options that could have been taken, but no hearing was granted to Celebi as far as things are concerned, and only a directive was issued. That too was without any kind of a reasonable nature, and only national security was cited as far as things are concerned. So very, very categorically, this is the ground that's been taken by Celebi Aviation. Not only that, they have also stated before the court that this is a clear violation of Rule 12 of the statute, and that's the reason why, this whole order, diktat of May 14 of, in fact, the Bureau of Civil Aviation Security should have been quashed, should be quashed by the Delhi High Court. The central government would actually begin its arguments tomorrow. So we'll have to wait and watch as to how things pan out and what would the government be saying. In fact, Celebi also opposed the kind of inputs that the government has given in field cover, saying that, it is an Indian company, all its employees are Indian.
All right, many thanks to you, Ananya, for bringing us all those inputs. So far, no relief for this Turkish firm, Celebi, by the Delhi High Court. With that, it's a quick wrap from my end. Thank you so much for watching Nation at 5. Up next is Plain Speak with Shivani Gupta.
They have code-named this operation Operation Sindoor. The Indian Army, through Operation Sindoor, has hit 9 targets.
You try to target our bases, you try to target our capital, or you try to target our cities, we will hit you so hard that you will not be able to fly your machine.
news coming out that nervous Pakistan is seeming to wave the white flag.
This is what Manoj Gupta is bringing for us, this piece of information that Pakistan wants to de-escalate.
As we slip into evening on May 10, Donald Trump, US President, has now announced that India